Hey everyone, welcome to CresTV, your regular roundup of all things Crestron, what's going on in the UC, AV, and just the industry in general. Today, a friend of the show, we love having Nica on. There, I've spoiler alert, I've done it now. Let's get him out because I've told you who it is now. Nica Faustino from New Wave Workspace. Nica, thank you for coming on today to CresTV. Modern Work Summit, Infocom, ISC, we get together at all these great places. But today we wanted to talk, we've just been talking, we were going to talk about Fight Club. We're going to talk about return to work. We're going to talk about hybrid work. Don't know where we want to start, but for those who don't know you, I don't know who that one person is in the world, but for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself and New Wave Workspace.
Absolutely, Neil. First of all, thank you very much for bringing me to CresTV. I'm a big fan of the way you explain things easily, the guests you bring in. So very privileged to be here. So I'm Nica Faustino. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer of New Wave Workspace. And we do a workspace application that allows people to book desks, rooms, car park, and lockers. But more importantly, we provide data about workspace occupancy utilization, employee well-being and happiness. And hopefully we can give some analytics that help for a more sustainable future.
I mean, the data is the important bit. Again, there's all this stuff about, we can biggest cameras, best screens, which clearly Crestron do. But actually, unless you've got some data around this and can actually go, yes, we did this, this was the input and this was the outcome. Unless you can track that or manage that, you've got no idea, and you're literally just, whistling in the wind, as the phrase would say. Again, we talked a lot at the Modern Work Summit about return to work. We're recording this in August. Everyone's on their summer break. September is going to come along. Kids are going to go back to school. People are going to start going back. Are they going to go back to the office? What do you think is going to happen? What is your crystal ball telling you about what's going on in the world of work?
Is a crystal ball that unfortunately there's too many people crystal balls out there. So my version of the crystal ball is that hybrid is here to stay. People can be productive. People can be happy. People can contribute to sustainability by work from home. And I think that's what we alluded to the Fight Club. So we talked about a little bit of a fighting club in here. But what happens we see is that the companies that are unprepared to hybrid work or flexible work are trying to force employees back to the office. And of course, not talk about every single employee, every single circumstance, every single role. I'm talking about office workers that could be productive, as they proven during the pandemic, work from home. And then when you hear news like Zoom saying like these people need to come back to the office. This week was Amazon saying that they had a gentleman's agreement to their workforce, 3 days a week in the office. And now they just came out saying, well, you know what? People are not coming back to the office. So let's send an email and tell them that we know that they're not here. Imagine this for associations, unions, and the well-being of people who are like, hey, I used to have all this flexibility. Now, why in the world do I need to be in the office? I worked for 2.5, 3 years from home. You didn't fire me, so I clearly was doing a decent job. So why now? And I think that's the crystal ball tells me that there's more to be done to make sure there's not a fight club, there's synergy. And it has to be about productivity, it has to be about well-being, it has to be about sustainability. That's our three pillars that we're trying to build the platform based on, so it can deliver great value for customers.
I think you'll create a lot of friction if you tell someone that they have to do something. I mean that initially gets people's backs up. The spikes come out and you're kind of like, I don't want to do that. I mean, it's interesting. I've worked from my place of work has been my home for 15, 20 years. So the whole pandemic thing meant nothing to me. It was no different for me. I didn't do anything different, but I do find Charlie, Rita, and I have been sort of putting a monthly thing in the calendar where we will meet up. Last week we were on the boat, and we've been to the office and stuff like that. But getting together, I mean, the tools are great, Teams, and again, I get up and I'm chatting on Teams or WhatsApp, and I love that connection. But again, getting together with people, I think there's definitely a value in that. But it comes down to choice, and it comes down to people being trusted and entrusted that you've got this job to do, you're going to get on and do it, and you're going to find the best way to do it. I think this knee-jerk reaction of organizations that say you must come back, again, that's a very much I say gets people's backs up, and you would get that fight club from employees, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And I think this is global. We have customers around the world. There's no single culture that is different. And now recently, you start seeing articles on the pros and cons of work from home for the employee, or the pros and cons of bringing employers to the office. And that's another angle to this. So if I'm an employee, my pros of being home is that I can be with my family, I can drop my kids to school, I can go to the gym and work out as opposed to be an hour and a half in traffic. But the cons for being home, for me as an employee as well, it's like, I'm working here, I don't have a super space to work. And if my wife is receiving a visitor, there's noise, and then suddenly there's a meeting that is not as professional as could be, right? Because there's people shouting and not shouting, but laughing and have a good time.
They're going to be laughing at your house, Nica, I'm sure.
Shout and laugh in between there. And so and then if you look in Hong Kong, people don't have space for the whole family in a house. So they actually go to office to actually have a professional space. If you look people in Brazil, they actually prefer to go to the office sometimes for the networking, because extremely sociable human beings. So I think there's no right and wrong. There's not culture. It's not a particular company. It's everybody's unique. And I think that hopefully employers will accommodate that. So what we try to do from New Wave Workspace perspective, we bring something called the workplace policies. And a workplace policy would be like, okay, you and I have the right to be in the office for 3 days. Because now by having the right to be in the office, we choose to be in the office or not. And because there's a control system in place, we ensure that when we do go to the office, we have a place to sit, and we have a place to sit perhaps next to you, to Charlie, to Rita, because we are, a team that we're working a collaboration, and we want to actually develop something that really needs that brainstorm and that energy that you get when you're in a pub, you have a drink, or something that you don't get in a video call, definitely, or sometimes in the office. So I think that forcing is wrong. I think there's a lot of people who listen to the employees, but it feels like even after doing other surveys, they're still trying to, I'm sure Zoom has listened to their employees, and perhaps some people believe that it's not working, and they are trying to change, which I'm sure that, if they let go 15% of the workforce, there's a few more 15% that will probably go leave voluntarily if they keep pushing this. And that's what we heard about, the great resignation.
Yeah, silent resignation. Is it silent firing?
Quiet
quitting. That's it. Craig talks about that, doesn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, and I think, again, there is that whole earning the commute thing. I think that one of the problems is, and I've talked to Craig about this, Craig Durr at Wainhouse. He's not Wainhouse anymore. It's I forget the name of it. Anyway, he'll kill me for not knowing that. But he's talked about the fact of, say, earning the commute, and again, employers having to do that. But one of the things I wonder is, a lot of companies who've got these leases, they pay this money every month and every quarter for these buildings, this real estate, and they're just sitting like ghost towns in big, metropolises. And what are they going to do with those? So they probably can't get out of the leases for 3 or 5 years. So I guess the people are looking at spreadsheets, going, "Oh, we're spending all this much money. Plus, we're probably spending a bunch of money for people to have broadband and technology and kit at home. So why don't we get people back into the office?" So I do see the kind of, again, the financial reason for bringing people back in, but I think it's got to be around productivity. And again, you were talking before we press record about the fact of people are going to be more productive if you allow them that flexibility and allow them that opportunity to make their own decisions around this.
I think so. I think that I follow Gallup very closely. Gallup generates a lot of data about workplace, about people and behavior and all that. And reading a book called Culture Shock by them, and it's phenomenal the value of flexibility has an engagement level, right? If you have the flexibility, if you're happy at work, you're engaged, and they make this link between engaged employees communicate well with customers. Therefore, you have a better chance to maintain and keep your customers or acquire new customers. And then the engagement of employees, their well-being come from being managed by a manager who knows how to manage them well. And then they have the K-12, which ask a bunch of questions about, are you doing what you actually like doing? How, are you having weekly meetings with your manager? Do you feel appreciated? Are you doing things that, you have the tools to do the work that you actually need to produce? And when you look into Gallup data, and Craig did a fantastic job there at the Modern Workspace in their data from Wayne House and the new company he works for now and all that. It's fantastic to know that the data is there, and some companies are still choosing to either ignore or just misinterpret the data. I think happy employees, engaged employees will just produce more no matter where they're working from. Now, this real estate, Neil, is an interesting one. There's a customer in Brazil, exactly what you said, like, they have a leasing of a 10-year lease. They cannot get the lease. There's no savings for them. So then people are like, well, there's no savings, let's just load the building with people. But the interesting thing they start loading the build with their ecosystem. They are giving free seats for partners. They are giving free seats for the ecosystem, the supply chain to sit in their building. So what they are doing with that, since they cannot save the money in the leasing, they are trying to use that, but not with the employees. They're trying to put visitors and ecosystem people. So they shorten communication. They create a better relationship between themselves and brokers who can sell their services. And they call, this is our city, is our community.
Yeah, and, kind of like a village feel to it.
Yeah, it's our little village, which actually in a book by Philip Ross, which also was in the modern world, talk about the concept of bringing the tribes together, the people who need to produce the iron, the people who use the iron, the people who have the raw material to produce, and in the same place, because now they're there. Things are just flowing. You don't need to wait until someone transport this to the other building to then understand that that was a missing screw. You know that because the person right in your building and they're right there. So I love these creative ways of leveraging real estate that you cannot get rid of. So for me is no excuse to try to force people back to the office because you cannot get off your lease, because you can use that building in different ways that will actually impact your bottom line and top line. Better supply chain, better communication, better results. Quicker products out. So it's a good way.
So to all these companies then, what do you do at New Wave Workspace to help people get this data? I mean, how can they start on that journey of being able to say, okay, we've got a problem. We don't know what the problem is. How can they go about, using the tools that you create to try and get some analytics around this and to try and get some metrics around this so they can say, okay, let's not force everyone to come in on Friday because that's never going to be a good thing. But let's maybe look at this team. Let's look at this, this office or this department and try and get them to understand the benefits or the productivity gains of making these changes. How do you go about that? And again, what can customers watching this take from this, and how should they start on that journey with New Wave Workspace?
Very, very good, insightful question there, Neil. Thank you for asking. I think it has to start with the profiles of the people. And sorry for referring to Gallup a couple of times, but I'm falling in love with that.
We're not sponsored by Gallup, but Gallup, if you want to sponsor us, we're open.
Gallup, just in case anybody wonders. It's just my understanding that the problem that we solve is not necessarily related to workspace, but related to people, right? So in Gallup, they have this Clifton Strengths, which is personality psychometric tests. In 30 minutes you respond to 70 questions and you get your top 5. And then if the companies really understand the top 5 of their employees, they will know that people like me, I'm a learner, I'm a social person. I must be near people. So the fact that for me, I don't like the commute, I don't like the risk to go to the office, I definitely don't want to be there on a Friday afternoon or traveling abroad and be one of the many grumpy people in a plane trying to get home at 10, 11 o'clock in the night. As well, there's no happy person coming back home on a Friday night in a plane. But I'll definitely go to the office to socialize. And then when I'm there socializing, I'm disturbing people who actually went to the office to actually work.
They'll go to work from home to get some quiet time, some concentration time.
Exactly right. So I think it has to start with the people and understand them. And then how do we, New Wave Workspace, help with that scenario? Once people are understood, we have many policies. We'll talk about this to the end of the world if we could, because the workplace policies is what makes New Wave Workspace flexible and adaptable to each company needs, to each person's needs.
Yeah.
So policies that can start with, they will start with zones. So the people who need to go to the office for quiet purpose, no matter the department, they just be put in a zone, and that zone will be called like the carriages in the train.
Yeah, the quiet carriage on the train. Yeah,
the quiet carriage. until I come in there and pick up a phone call. And everybody like, we definitely don't do that. Or people know from the UK, get in a quiet carriage. If you want to see the British people telling you off, that's one of
Oh, we're good at that. We love that.
the second one is queuing. If you break the queue
Yeah,
and you
break the
break the
queue.
queue, the only two times that the British people will kind of confront you face to face. So don't do it. But jokes aside about the carriage, back to the workplace place. So you get these closed areas, zones, and then only people who are that profile can book in those places.
Mm.
And then we start measuring if people are coming there. And then using the Wave Workspace, you can fill out a survey for people who come to the office.
Right.
And then you can get instant feedback as they check in or as they confirm they are there with a QR code or otherwise, that they're actually having the experience they expect to have. And that is the beginning of the other 59 workplace policies that we have that control things like how long can you have a desk or meeting room for, who you can book on behalf. Can you book on behalf of the whole team? Can you book on behalf of yourself? A crazy workplace policy that talks about office occupancy is something like this. Imagine that you have 10 people in HR and 30 people in IT, right? So you reserve the 5 desks for HR and 15 desks for IT. But then the HR people in a particular day, there's only 2 people in the office. So the IT is better because HR can sit in IT cannot sit in HR space, right? For confidentiality reasons. But out of the 15 desks in IT, there's only 5 desks being used. But there's more people from HR who cannot come into the office because the HR desks are fully booked.
Yeah.
Now, our workplace policies allows the flexibility to say, like, once the HR capacity is 75% and the IT zone is under 50, you can allow other people to book.
Right, release those places.
What in the world you did this to allow the flow of people who need to come to the office to come to the office?
Yeah.
So you don't have entitlements, and that's what I think some of the technology tools kind of portrays. Like, IT has 15 desks and they can only be used by IT. No. If IT is using them, great.
Yeah.
But if we know at a certain condition that IT is not going to use the 15, and there's people in our departments struggling, or there was a situation that I need to meet you there for a brainstorm, and I didn't book my desk, I don't have a desk anymore because my zone is fully booked. Now I can go ahead based on this flexible policy and book an IT. You and I can actually get that meeting room, and I can sit in the whole day in the office to talk to other people. So I think that the policy is the beginning of this, and of course, then you get to the analytics. So the analytics are very interesting. How people do out there. Some vendors, they believe they know what customers need, and that's a mistake. I think is a big mistake. You need to build for the customer needs. You need to build for the customer adaptability, and every customer is different. Everybody has something different. So when you look into the dashboards analytics, we let people. We have, of course, the 50 widgets that are the default stuff that people like. But every widget is customizable, and every widget is customized based on a particular key data, the dashboards. And then if you put a person from HR, corporate real estate, or data analyst on to work with us on this, you just mold the tool, you adapt the tool to exactly the need that people need. And then you get things like well-being, you get the things like occupancy, you get to the heat map, what is most used, what is least used. You get things like utilization by characteristics of the place. We had a law firm customer a long time ago, and there was this one video conference room that was always used. And they had like 50 conference rooms, but this one wasn't like, this is used like 80% and every other is 65, 30. No. This is like 99%, 100%, never. And the others are like 10, 15. And then nobody knew why. And then when we, the data show like there's this anomaly. So went there, checked the room, and the room was just the dream. If you come from the conference world, it was the T3, the Tumblr, and you just want to be there. But it wasn't the case. It was just the position, the camera, the setting. And then once they moved the other video conference rooms for the same layout, guess what? You have no problem finding the video conference room anymore because everybody could use different rooms. So I think that's what the power of data gives to people, gives them the insights to duplicate and double down on what works in the workplace. As opposed to just like, I think I know what it is. That's what I liked, what Naomi did, not only in your channel here, but also in the Modern Workplace. Now she led with data, didn't she?
Yeah, Naomi's amazing.
About the data, the surveys, and then it's like, based on this, we're going to build this workplace for people. I love that. really.
So I'm guessing, obviously, you know, the approach to start with you guys would be a more consultative approach. Where can people? How should they hook up with you? How should they? You know, if someone's got a problem, they know something's not quite working. We're now giving them the fact that you know, you're going to come in and listen to them and try and understand their problems and try and help them on that journey. What's the best way to kind of engage with you and to get you to help them try and make some sense of this madness?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity, Neil. Is www.newwaveworkspace.com is our website, and there you have contacts, there you have you know, presentation of customers, you have stories, you have you know, visuals of the real software. We don't do cartoons, anything. Everything today is real, is the software.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I'm LinkedIn, very active. You know, connect. Always happy to talk to people. You know, I talked to someone from Avanade, and another day I talked to someone from a company that has one man and a dog the other day, and I do take those calls. And the reason I do is because I believe that I can learn from everybody in the world. There's no like, doesn't need to be a vice president, CXO to have a chat. Let's talk to anybody who is struggling or trying to figure out how, you know, workplace policies can work in a hybrid work, in a future work. Happy to do that. And of course, we are super partners of Crestron, so most of the Crestron people will be able to easily find us as well. So thank you very much for.
Nica, thank you for coming on. I love doing stuff for you. You're such a blast. At every show we go to, we always have fun. If Nica is around, you're going to have some fun, I can tell you. And again, super smart.
Oh.
And if you're looking at trying to understand and find your way through this return to work, hybrid work, there's so many different phrases and names marketing have come up with. But if you want to understand how to get your employees to be more productive and understand how to use your real estate, then, you know, New Wave Workspace is the place to go and chat to Nica and the team there. Nica, thank you for coming on, joining us on CresTV. We'll get you back. You're, say, friend of the show. So thank you again. Very cool. Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of CresTV. We do this every week, every Thursday. Where have you been? We'll get you on. Subscribe, follow, tell your friends. CresTV is the place to be. And we will catch you, if not before, on the next one. See you soon.